Good afternoon, everybody. It is still Monday in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. My name is Adam Bittner, assistant sports editor for multimedia at the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. We are usually done for the day in terms of video work, but we got some breaking news to react to today with the Mike Tomlin contract extension reported on by our Ray Fittipaldo. He's in the lower right. And in the upper right, we have Jason Mackey, our sports columnist at the Post-Gazette. We're all going to react to the news here shortly. How are you guys?
Doing great, man. I didn't expect this.
Busy, newsy day before minicamp opens tomorrow.
Yeah, going to be a lot to get players' reactions and things of the such. Nice to get a little bit of news under our belts ahead of that. Before we get into the video, just want to thank our sponsor, Pella Windows and Doors. There's no other place to get new windows and doors installed in your home than Pella, who can help you save on energy costs year-round. Schedule a free in-home consultation with your local Pella Windows and Doors to find the right product for your home and budget. Give them a call at 866-593-1560 to discuss your project further. That's 866-593-1560 to get started planning on your new windows and doors installation with Pella Windows and Doors of Pittsburgh. Ray, I guess I'll start with you because you wrote the story for PostGazette.com, just filed, hot off the press, or at least the digital press, that we have today. What are your thoughts on this extension before I start getting into the questions I have for you guys?
Yeah, listen, Adam, not a surprise at all. Art Rooney told us he was going to do this in the season-ending news conference in January after that playoff loss in Buffalo. So he followed up on that promise. Really, the only news today is the length of the contract. It's another 3-year deal, second time in a row. He received a 3-year deal, also a 3-year deal in 2021. Previously, it had been a bunch of 2-year extensions with maybe a 1-year extension in there as well. So just another sign that the Steelers are committed to Mike Tomlin. They believe, even while the fan base might not, they believe he is the right man to lead them back to playoff success.
Jason, what are your thoughts?
About what Ray said, this doesn't surprise me at all. I don't think any of us went into this thinking, oh, man, is Mike Tomlin going to get a contract extension? Like it's an admission of what we already know. The Rooneys aren't going to fire Mike Tomlin. And that's kind of what I wrote for PostGazette.com just now. Like you're wasting your time getting upset that Mike Tomlin is coming back. I would instead focus on some things that are controllable, that can change, and that's the players. And that's a lot of the changes that they made this offseason. I think I'm in the same boat as Ray with a lot of this stuff. I do like some signs that I've seen so far. I think a big key of it is Arthur Smith's offense. But, I'm not going to go too far down that rabbit hole. It's just, I'm not surprised by it in the least. I did not expect Mike Tomlin to go anywhere.
Let me ask the question this way, guys, on the length. We've heard whispers that Mike Tomlin, himself might want to go year to year, let alone the organization maybe wanting the flexibility to possibly move on. Those have been the murmurs. Do you think that might still be how things play out, with Tomlin, considering he's coming up on the end of his second decade in this chair, and, that they're just going to evaluate at the end of every season going forward, regardless of what a contract might say?
I'll take that first, Adam. I don't get that sense. At the end of Kevin Colbert's tenure, they did go year to year. But, Kevin Colbert at that point was in his mid to late 60s. And right now, Mike Tomlin is 52 years old. And I don't see him slowing down. The only thing he knows is football. I know it's popular for some fans to get on the internet and say, oh, he could be great at TV. He could do this. He could do that. He can go be a head coach somewhere else. The only thing he wants to do is be the head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers. He has said that several times. He has always put that TV stuff to bed. So, listen, anything can happen. They could have the first losing season of his tenure. Things can go really bad this season with Russell Wilson. I'm not saying, there's not potential for this to end before 2027, but I think the big thing here is that the likelihood is he's going to be here through 2027, given the Rooney's commitment to him and given his past track record. I think that's the way this is likely going to turn out in the end.
Yeah, I could be crazy for thinking this, and I'll just build off of what Ray is saying, that Tomlin is thrilled. I mean, this is like, I don't think he's looking to go anywhere and do anything else. Watch him on the practice fields. Like, that man is in heaven Yeah, I'm trying to think of like a clever thing to liken it to, but I mean, like he is very clearly pleased with what he is doing. And I'd imagine if I'm Mike Tomlin, I look at early on in my tenure, I was successful. I won a Super Bowl. I went to another. I'd imagine there's a pretty big push to get another Super Bowl before he even considers doing something else. Like that's been such a long time, especially in Steelers years and what the expectations are here. I'm trying to put myself in those shoes. Like I couldn't think about doing something else and just walking away until I felt good about where they were at. But I still come down to what I've witnessed at OTAs. Ray has seen this for years and has a much better perspective on it than I do. But like, what else is he going to do? Like this is him. This is what he is identified with. It's what he identifies with. I just don't see him going anywhere.
To what extent do you guys, and I'll start with Ray, to what extent do you guys think that Tomlin's fate here is somewhat tied to Arthur Smith's, after the debacle with Matt Canada? I have a hard time imagining that things can go that badly again and there not be, some level of repercussion. And I ask this question in the context of it seems like people feel good, on the South Side right now about the way this installation is going. And I know this is not a reaction to that. This has been, in the works for even longer than Arthur Smith has been on the staff. But do you look at that hire and say that it's going to be a defining feature of where this goes over the next 4 years? Because I think, Ray, that's a relevant point. It's a 3-year contract extension, but he's under contract for this year. So this contract extension really keeps him here for 4 years.
Yeah, I don't know, Adam. I remember writing and saying on podcasts and the radio that when he signed his extension in 2021, his fate was tied to Matt Canada. And Matt Canada has come and gone, and Mike Tomlin is still here, even after that disastrous tenure and some really, really bad offensive football over the last 3 years. So, I mean, I'm with you in some respects on that. But listen, Arthur Smith wants to be a head coach again. He could have great success here this season and move on in 2026. He's just an assistant coach now. This is about Mike Tomlin wanting to be here for the Steelers and the Steelers wanting to have Mike Tomlin shepherd them through this sort of transition here from Ben Roethlisberger to their new quarterback and still have some measure of success in the playoffs. So Art Rooney was clear about that after the season. We'll see what happens from here. But in short, I don't know. I think Arthur Smith can come and go, and I think Mike Tomlin will still be here.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Jason.
I pretty much agree with all of that. And I think that's what the Rooneys told us. That is a likely outcome here, right? Like if Arthur Smith is good, if this offense is good for a year, he's probably going to be gone. And I mean, that's really not going to affect Mike Tomlin. If he's not good, I think it's to what degree is the offense bad? If it's that bad, like what are you going to do? Like, I don't think they're going to fire Arthur Smith immediately. And I don't think that's going to affect Mike Tomlin's job security. So, I mean, I guess I just keep coming back to the idea that the Rooneys really told us how they feel. They've been telling us how they feel. I think for a while, maybe people didn't want to listen because they didn't like what the answer sounded like, but consecutive 3-year extensions, their history with coaches, everything they say about Mike Tomlin, he's just not going anywhere. So I find it, I don't mean this in a crass way, Adam. It's just like, it's useless to talk about how it's going to go, when it's going to end. Like, I think Mike Tomlin at some point is probably going to say, I'm done. And I don't see that happening anytime soon. And aside from that, I don't see what could end this.
I know fans are going to want to talk about benchmarks, guys, and what does Mike Tomlin have to do over the life of this extension, and really, on a year-to-year basis. Playoff wins, it's the longest, since before the 70s. This is their longest drought without a playoff victory. When does that playoff victory have to come in your mind, guys? A, for the Rooneys to keep them satisfied, and B, for this fan base not to lose hope that if they go at the end of this extension, it could be a full decade without a playoff win if we don't see it by then. So how do you guys look at what the benchmark is and what it should be as we go into these next 4 seasons?
Yeah, Adam, I don't think the fan base's reaction means anything. The Steelers don't listen to their fans when it comes to business decisions like these, executive decisions, who's going to be the GM, the coach, stuff like that. That's strictly a Rooney family decision, and that's the way they've always operated. They never let any outside noise get in the way of how they evaluate these types of things. But you do have a point. He was 6-2 in the postseason after his first 4 seasons. He is 3-8 since. So that playoff success is probably going to have to come sooner rather than later. But again, to Jason's point, if they don't win a playoff game this year after the 2024 season, he's not going anywhere. He is tied to this team through 2027. Things would have to go really, really bad, probably for a couple years, if that's going to happen.
Let me hop in and mention this, though, just because we do know that the attendance has not exactly been what we're used to. They don't sell out every game at Heinz Field Acrisure Stadium anymore. That's just a fact. And I wonder to the degree to which, if you start to see some of these season ticket holders falling off a little bit more, and the business is not getting the revenue from, a home playoff game, which they haven't seen for some time. Remember, even when they had a home playoff game recently, it was washed out by the pandemic. It was that game they lost at home against the Browns in 2020. So, I think there should be some level of business consideration to his results here, Jason.
I don't. Well, maybe there should, but I don't think there's going to be. I don't think the front office, the same as Ray was saying, that they're not going to listen to the fans for advice, which I wrote down. I can't believe that the fans the Rooneys wouldn't want free advice from the Rooneys. There's all kinds of free advice on X, but no, that's not going to change their decision making. That's just, they're doing fine financially. I don't think the Rooneys are going to crumble. The NFL draft is coming here. The Steelers are what they are. Then that's not an acceptance of mediocrity. That's this is how we've done business for a long, long time. And the fact that, people want to see a playoff win and are agitated by it, great. But that's not going to govern our decision to push out the head coach. If they were in poverty or something was, really going awry, that's one thing. But they're extending Tomlin. They're telling us how much they like Tomlin. And I don't think that a couple, empty seats on Sunday is going to change that. And I don't think it's going to change the specter of what they can do financially either. The Steelers are still an identifiable brand across the National Football League. They're in every marquee situation that they could be in, I guess, other than an international game, which is somewhat surprising to me in a different topic. But I don't see the business side getting involved here. This is a football decision. They believe it's the best course of action. And I don't think that, any slip up is going to be affected by this.
Yeah. One more point, Adam, and, just building off that, what sports fans in Pittsburgh have to understand, this isn't the Penguins or the Pirates where maybe home attendance is a bigger factor in their bottom line. For the Steelers, it's minuscule. I don't want to underplay it, but the TV revenue that they get from all those contracts with Amazon, CBS, ABC, everything that they have it's the vast majority of their income. And that's the reason why the salary cap continues to go up. Yeah, they want to engage fans and they want to have a full stadium. But believe me when I tell you, if there's 5,000 empty seats on a Monday night because people don't want to go to a Monday night game, that is not a big deal to the Steelers and their bottom line.
Get you guys out of here on this. We talk about what could be the defining features of this Mike Tomlin extension and what we're going to be talking about. I think quarterback is going to be at the top of the list when you look over a 4-year span and not just in this 1 year ahead that you have with Russell Wilson and Justin Fields in the fold. What's your level of faith, guys, that they're going to figure something out in the next 4 years with some level of consistency and not kind of going year to year at the quarterback position the way they have really since, Ben Roethlisberger's injury in 2018. Yeah, Ben played for 2 more seasons and you knew he was going to play as long as he was here, but there were always questions. How long is he going to be here? When's the retirement going to happen? And then who replaces him? They still don't have an answer. So I'll ask the question this way. How big of a factor do you think it's going to be? And what's your level of faith that Mike Tomlin is either going to find or develop that next guy so that when we're sitting here in 2027, it's not a who's going to be the quarterback next year type of situation?
Yeah, I'll go first, Adam. I mean, my level of faith, I'm 50-50. I mean, listen, Chuck Noll wasn't exactly successful in finding Terry Bradshaw's replacement. He never did. And his tenure ended what? He was gone in 92. Bradshaw's career ended in 83. So, he spent 9 years trying to find that guy. It's not easy. And it's certainly not easy when you're drafting from 15 to 28 every year. You're either in the playoffs or you're on the brink of making the playoffs. You don't find quarterbacks at number 20 overall. I'm sorry. That's why Kenny Pickett's not here anymore. You find your quarterbacks in the top 10. So if Russell Wilson isn't a success, if Justin Fields isn't a success, they're eventually going to have to find that guy in the higher portions of the draft. So, I understand quarterback is a huge part of any postseason turnaround. I think the Steelers are hoping Mike Tomlin, his expertise on defense, his ability to hold teams together through adversity, that'll help them maybe get a playoff win with a guy like late stage Russell Wilson or a guy like Justin Fields, whoever happens to be that guy in the end for the Steelers. I happen to think it'll be Wilson. I think he'll have a good year, but it's just a 1-year deal, so we'll have to see how that goes later in the season.
I'm probably a little bit above 50-50, Adam, maybe 70-30, 75-25 in terms of thinking that they are going to figure it out. And the reason I think that is because of what they've done to support the quarterback and addressing the offensive line, asking the quarterback to do less, theoretically involving the tight end in the offense. This should be a fairly high percentage passing team. I think they've got a premier wide receiver in George Pickens. I'd still like them to address who plays opposite Pickens, and I think and hope they will before camp. And I mean, I think there's too much direct attachment between a quarterback and a head coach. Like, Mike Tomlin has like 4 doors and he just happens to keep picking the wrong door. Like, it's not that simple to me. I mean, are you able to run the ball? Are you able to control the clock? Like, things that are as old as football itself. And I like how the Steelers are positioned to do those things. And I think they've built in a way that is more controllable with the offensive line and creating a running game and a 2-headed monster and all this stuff that you're not going to have to ask Russell Wilson or Justin Fields to do more than they're capable of. They don't need to throw 40, 50 times. They shouldn't be throwing 40, 50 times. So I like the chances, at least in the next couple of years, of figuring out that spot.
Yeah, I'm probably in the slightly north of 50-50 situation, just that, because I think it's easier to develop a quarterback into what you're describing there, Jason, and saying he doesn't have to do too much. You kind of look at the Brock Purdy situation in San Francisco and say, can the Steelers figure things out that way? That's to me the big question, because we haven't seen Mike Tomlin do it. We haven't seen him take a quarterback and develop him into a starter from those later stages of not getting a guy in the top 5, getting someone later in the first round or even, second, third rounder later in the draft. Because we haven't seen it, it's hard for me to say 100%. I think it'll happen, but I do think your point, Jason, is it makes things a little bit easier. Guys, any final thoughts before we sign off here?
No, just for me, Adam, I think this is one less thing that the fans have to discuss before training camp. It's going to be a news-filled training camp. The Russell Wilson, Justin Fields storyline is going to be huge. Up in Latrobe, that defense, 3 new starters, that's going to be another storyline. So everyone knew this is coming. Now I think fans can focus on training camp and, looking forward to what the Steelers will be in 2024.
Jason?
Yeah, I mean, that's basically it. I was getting a weird echo there for a second. No, I'm just looking forward to minicamp.
Yeah, same. So stay tuned to postgazette.com this week. Stay tuned to the Post-Gazette Sports Now YouTube channel. We'll have much more. Chip Hammond football, I believe, with Brian McFadden. We'll be joining Brian back on Tuesday. Christopher Carter and the North Shore Drive will be back on Wednesday. Make sure you stay tuned to Jason's daily podcast, The First 10, that comes out every morning. Glad to have that in the rotation. He's talking Pirates, Penguins, Steelers, everything in Pittsburgh sports. So if you want your scoop on the big picture of around town, make sure you're subscribing for that. I will be back on Thursday with Paul Zeiss. So that's the schedule for the week. Stay tuned. We'll be looking forward to talking to you again real soon.
Thank you for checking out this content from Post-Gazette Sports. If you watch this video on YouTube, please like the video and subscribe to our channel. For all of the sports coverage the Post-Gazette has to offer, visit post-gazette.com.